Good day again. So we're going to continue with the trig ratios. This time we're going to focus on calculator use and how you can actually manipulate the trig ratios and use the calculator so they can get a right answer. This is probably new. So here's the first thing. Let's go ahead and let's together calculate some of these values. So sine of 45 degrees, cos of 30 degrees, and tangent of 60 degrees. The very first thing is this. Sine on its own, if I write sine on its own like that, this means sin. That does not mean sine ratio. It's not a trigonometric ratio. I have to have a degree in here. Must have a degree. Okay, or must have a value. One of the units of measurement is degrees, but it could be another. There are two other ones that we can put in there. You don't need to know that right now, but radians in this case, for the purpose of our course, this is degrees, so we must have an argument. It's called the argument to the trig function, so we must have that in there. So when I say sine of 45 degrees, that makes sense. So what is that? Well, here's what we're going to do. You're going to take out a scientific calculator. So I'm going to open up a scientific calculator. So I have a sine of 30 degrees. Great. So I'm going to punch in 30. First of all, the very first thing you have to do, you have to make sure that your calculator is in degree mode. You see that right here? That's DEG or DGR or degrees. It says on your calculator. And if you're using any online calculators or anything like that, it's actually very obvious. Make sure that it is. So mine it is, because if I press that, notice what happens. It changes to RAD, that's radians. And then if I change it again, that would be gradients. That's different. These are all different things, but you want degrees. All right. So that was the first thing that you have to do. Then, depending on your calculator, you have to play around with it. So in my calculator, I press 30, and then I'm going to go to the trig. So I'm going to punch in sine, and that will give me 0.5. That's the ratio. So once I have that, I come up here and I say, oh, okay, so that is 0.5. Simple as that. Okay, so you go ahead and do that with the cosine as well. So here it is, cosine. So let's clear this. So again, that was 30 degrees, cos of 30. So I'm going to do 30. This time I'm going to do cosine, press cosine, and I get this massive kind of a irrational number that goes forever. But I'm going to truncate it at 0.866. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. So in this case, it would be 0.866. And then you can go ahead and do the tangent. So let's do the tangent of 60. I'm going to clear this, 60 degrees. And this time I'm going to hit tangent. And I get 1.732. I'm going to stop at 1.732. 4 decimal places is good enough. All right. So here it is, 1.732. Great. One of the things you need to pay attention as you learn trigonometry, because later on in different courses you're going to use this, especially in the physics and other courses, is that pay attention to the estimation. So when you're doing the estimation, if it says 1 decimal place, you need to truncate that number and round it to the 1 decimal place, or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever that is. You just pay attention to that. I give you 1 decimal place here, 3 decimal places there, 4 decimal places there. Okay, but just pay attention to that. Okay, now let's do the reverse operation. So here we had the angle, we needed to get the ratio. Okay, so we had sine of 45 degrees. We want to know what the ratio is, so we punched that in. We got 0.5. Okay. Ooh, actually, I just made an error. This is not supposed to be 45. That's supposed to be 30. Apologies, because I punched in 30. Okay. So just pay attention to that one. Apologies. All right. So in here, what we're doing the reverse operation. The reverse operation is that now we want to know what is the angle that we need to have. When we take the sine of that angle, we get 0.5. Okay. Now you can use a calculator to do this, and later on I'm going to show you using a table of values as well. But in here, the reverse operation of what we did first thing first here, the reverse operation of that is the same pattern. So first you have to open up a calculator, scientific calculator, make sure the degree mode is on. And in this case, so I need to punch in 0.5 first, so that would be 0.5. But in this case now, when I go to the trig ratios, I need to not get sine and cosine and tangent, but I'm going to press in second function, and I get this sine inverse. Now that's how you read that. It's not sine to the power of -1, it's actually the sine inverse. That's what that is. And then when I press that, I get 30 degrees back. So second function sine will give you that answer. So here, this angle right here is 30 degrees. So remember, you have to use this button second function, then you press in the sin like that, okay, if you have it, or sometimes you just have it in the back of the written in the back of the button of the calculator, scientific calculator. When you press that one, then you get the angle. Okay, so let's do cosine. Same idea. That was 30 degrees, so I'm going to clear this. So what was cosine ratio? Let's go back up. 0.866, so it's right here, 0.866. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to punch in 0.866. Okay, now it's been truncated, it's been kind of rounded, but that's okay. And then I'm going to come up here, second function, I'm going to do cosine, and I'm going to round it to the nearest, let's say, 2 or 3 decimal places. And in this case, you notice that it's 30 degrees, and sure enough it is. So this one will give you 30 degrees. You can do the same thing with the tangent, and that will give you, basically, if you go the other way, it will give you tangent of or 60 degrees. Okay, so the way we write this, by the way, I wrote down question mark in there, but the actual way of writing it is sine of angle A equals to 0.5, and then angle A is equal to, and then you have to write it as 30 degrees. Don't forget the notation, proper notation. There's a symbol here that represents degrees. Here, cos of angle C, I'm just making it up, equals to 0.866, angle C equals to 30 degrees. Okay, now it's time for you to do a lot of practice questions.